G'day everyone, this is my review of Save the World, written and drawn by Tonicmole, funded and fulfilled via the Indiegogo platform. I'll be reviewing the digital version of the book, which was emailed to me as a backer almost immediately after the campaign ended, having been successfully funded. Tonicmole is, at the time of this video's recording, funding a second issue on both Indiegogo and Kickstarter. The cover is great, colourful, fun, irreverent. It very much sets the tone of the story. I think it does a good job of letting people know what they're in for when they buy this book. The entire point of a cover is for it to be judged. It's a tool, the first and probably most powerful tool you have to sell your work. If your cover fails, you fail. That being said, if this comic with this cover was on the shelf of my local comic book store, I still couldn't buy it because my local comic book store had to shut down. It's hard to make a profit and Marvel floods the shelves with this crap. I still wouldn't pick it up. It isn't the sort of book I'd normally go for. I mentioned in another video how indie comics are rarely superheroes, and those that are usually some sort of cynical, irreverent deconstruction or meta-commentary on the genre. It's pretty rare to see a straight superhero book on the indie shelf of your comic book store. But it was this page that got me to back the project. I thought it was an interesting way to introduce the character and let us know something cool was potentially about to happen. I don't know what's up with the burger motif, but it adds to the small town blue-collar feel of the book. We meet Kiera, find out she's a comic book reader and works at the local burger shop. Aha, burger motif. She hates it and feels mundane. She tells us she has trouble connecting with people and posits she might be on the autism spectrum. After a late shift, she walks home, starts to feel strange, vanishes, then wakes up naked and confused. This scene had the potential to be cheesy or even disrespectful to the character, but instead the choice to depict Kiera's shame, her vulnerability at being in this situation, removes some of the titillation or fan service you might expect and replaces it with the pathetic, with sympathy. Kiera wonders if it was aliens that abducted her, then undergoes what I would call a panic attack. In rage, she strikes out, and as she does, her muscle mass increases vastly, and she breaks a hole in the wall. She tries out what she rightly judges to be superpowers, assembles an outfit from parts bought online, and sets out to right the wrongs of her hometown of Maplewood, which we are led to believe is a smaller town, hardly a city. It takes her 3 nights before she comes across anything that can be described as a crime, an assault, a domestic violence incident. She intervenes, somehow trips over. I'm not sure if this is a reference to her large breasts, as she herself mentions frequently, or just base clumsiness. The guys lay into her, and while she's unable to help, she doesn't seem to be able to hurt much either. This is an interesting point. The woman who is being assaulted spits on Kiera and tells her it serves her right for getting involved in the first place. This is an accurate depiction of many domestic abuse victims who side with their assaulter over those who are trying to help them. I thought it was brave of the writer to make that commentary. Kiera is pretty dejected that she messed up so badly her first time trying to help, but then the truck full of evil white domestic abusers and woman bashers crashes, and Kiera runs to help save them, like a hero should. When she gets there, she's out of breath from running, and she doesn't seem to be superhumanly fast or gain muscle mass as she does, so that might make the reader wonder what the parameters and limits of her powers are. Is it just superhuman strength? Because running requires strength. Most sprinters are very muscular. Is it a stress thing? When she's in danger or scared, she muscles up? You would think people potentially dying in a car crash would qualify. She tears the door off its hinges and grabs the victim of the crash and leaps away with them before the truck explodes. Between gaining so much muscle mass and the explosion of the truck, Kiera is left next to naked again. She covers up and meets Nora, who shares that she was also abducted and woke up naked, but her powers seem to be superintelligence. She identifies it's not the sort of power that makes her very useful in situations like car crashes, but together the two could potentially save the world. They swap names and we learn Kiera hasn't come up with a code name yet. Kiera agrees to team up and the first book ends. The rest of the comic is a short scene that shows what Nora was doing when she vanished before gaining her powers, which mostly involves sitting on the couch and abusing her boyfriend for daring to make her dinner, getting her a place in a local fashion show, and asking if she's enrolled for her next semester of college yet. Tyler, the boyfriend, cucks out hard and begs for forgiveness, and Nora vanishes off the couch. I don't know if this story will be continued in future issues or if it was just a one-off, but neither character came out of it looking very good. Tyler is a simp and Nora was acting like an entitled bitch. This backup story is also written and drawn by Tonicmole. Tonicmole's style suits the kind of story he's writing. His art is clean, stylized and cartoony without being completely unrealistic. He draws Kiera very realistic and raw. She isn't a supermodel, that's clear. She reminds me of the new Anne of Green Gables. She's not ugly, but she's real, she's believable. The grayscale colouring adds weight to the art and helps it look more 3D. I'd be interested to see the book coloured. With the greys already in place, I reckon you could just about get away with only doing flat colours and letting the greys do the shading for you. I feel like the art was designed to be viewed in black and white, not colour, but I'd still like to see what a colourist could add to these pages. Kiera's got moments where she is likeable despite herself, and her nerding out in the comic store and the mundane shifts at the burger joint help us relate to her. My main issue with saving the world can be summed up in 3 wonderful words. Words all writers should live by. Show, don't tell. The whole issue is basically Kiera telling us stuff. I like comics. I hang out at the comic shop. I'm an awkward loner. I have a mundane job and I hate it. I don't get along with people. I might be on the autism spectrum. There's even a whole panel that's just a box of text telling us what the writer wants us to know. The shame of it is that there's some good showing in there that gets lost in all the telling. But it's something that can be worked on in future issues, or even if the book is collected into a trade later on. Your first issue is your most important. You need to set up the MC as someone I want to read about. That usually involves setting up an underdog status so we pity and sympathise with the MC, or have them doing something cool and draw us in and make us admire them for some trait or skill or ability. Tonic really doesn't do either of these. Pretty redhead with big boobs who likes comics? Let me break out the Kleenex. For crying, you degenerates. Who's going to feel sorry for her? She's half of the internet's ideal waifu. She's working, earns enough money to buy comics and magic cards, which is not a cheap hobby, and has a few people she talks to regularly about hobby-related stuff. That's better than a lot of people have it. Plus she gets superpowers for no obvious reason. She doesn't earn them, she doesn't train to get them. It's an accident that makes her more powerful than, as far as we can tell, anyone else in her world. Boo-hoo for her, no underdog is she. Oh, she's awkward? Welcome to the 21st century. Everyone is awkward now. Does she do anything cool? Not really. She does save some D-bags that assaulted her a couple of pages earlier, which is heroic, but the moment is kind of ruined when one of the guys tells her to blow him right as she is saving his life. With her Whedon speak and a kind of whingy attitude, she risks being unlikable. Then she gets handed superpowers and complains about it, even wishing she was dead because her boobs are too big. I think Tonicmole is setting something up here, a bit of the old subverted expectations. Listen to this and see if you think this synopsis has got legs. 2 friends gain superpowers. One is super strong and invincible, the other is super smart. They come to odds with each other and begin to see one another as the ultimate obstacle to imposing their worldview. Seeing no other choice, they go to war with one another. I could be wrong, but Tonic could be setting us up for a really brutal, really visceral tale of 2 friends, and the lengths they'll go to change the world for, in their opinion, the better. It starts irreverent, with elements and panels of pathos, but the girls are kind of Whedon-esque. Wait a flippin' minute, what the balls, run-on monologues, shouting odd phrases randomly, etc. Imagine if it ends up with Kiera standing alone against the world-conquering robot hordes of Nora as, over the last decade, they've slowly drifted apart due to the differences they've had on how to save the world. It's the name of the book. Even if Kiera was much stronger than shown, even if Nora is Einstein plus, how can they actually save the world? Think big. Nora hacking worldwide computer systems. Kiera's powers growing at an exponential rate, allowing her to react to wars and world disasters in seconds like another great superhero we all know. Here's a shortcut. Imagine if Lex Luthor and Superman were the best of friends and stayed friends and decided to save the world together. What would they do? How long would it last? How successful would it be? What could drive them apart and set them at odds with each other? What price would the world pay being caught in between their personal war? There is a chance to do something big, something world-spanning in this series, a long-form change from Whedon-speak gal pals to global stakes of life and death. Or the world could be something smaller and simpler. One person's world is different to the next, and saving it might mean saving yourself. Maplewood might be the world, and averting disaster for the town might help Kiera move more fully to join the human race. It's too early to tell which way Tonic is going to land with this. There's too much dialogue in this comic. I'm seeing that in a lot of new crowd-funded books. I don't know if this is a consequence of inexperience writing narratives, a fear the characters won't come across the way the writers want without all the exposition, or something else, a love of one's own written voice. But I reckon the book would be better with about 2/3 of the text removed. This bit here where she's arguing with a fellow nerd is a good bit of show. It shows us she's passionate about her hobby, knowledgeable and not afraid to speak up about her opinions regarding it. She's sassy but not mean. She seems more confident here, which is at odds with the confident loner title and the on-the-spectrum diagnosis she tells us about later. She goes to work at a burger joint and she tells us how much she hates it. I would have skipped the Hall of Legends and I hang out here panels. It's 2 panels of tell. Instead have her getting a huge haul of comics run up at a till while paying and arguing with the same nerd using the same text. Have her say, "Ah shoot, I'm late for work," and dash out comics underarm. These panels are fine, I just drop all the text. The juxtaposition between her vivaciousness at the shops and the mundane, mind-numbing pace of the burger joint does exactly what Tonicmole was trying to accomplish, without the feeling of being info dumped on. Don't tell me how boring your job is, show me. Maybe having a clock on the wall behind her with the time jumping an hour each panel, and repeat this process over and over again. This is some good showing. Her and Jason talk nerdy about their magic card decks. She turns down an offer for a ride and tells us she doesn't connect with normal people, even though she was just connecting fine for 4 other panels and further back in the shop. Tonic might have had a scene of some guy hitting on Kiera and her missing it completely or chickening out because she knows she doesn't connect well to show us this rather than telling us. Her discomfort at being offered a ride should be evident in any other way besides just telling us. A bit of stuttering and stumbling with her refusal, some body language showing she doesn't want to be alone in the car with this guy and no way to escape. Not because he's a creep, but because she doesn't connect well with normal people. See the difference? One tells, one shows. The 2018 movie Dumpling does a good job of this. It's clear the kid at the shop is crazy about Dumpling, but she can't see it. She doesn't understand why he would like her. It's such a foreign concept to her that she never even considers it, instead thinking he must be making fun of her for some reason. We could have had Jason falling over himself to give her a ride and her not getting it, her not seeing his interest, because she values herself so little that she can't even comprehend the idea that somebody might like her for who she is. Kiera walks home and is abducted, a word I use because she uses it when narrating, and she wakes naked and confused. This whole sequence really threw me. I didn't expect this kind of nudity in the book. It was especially confronting because I've only just read Rags, which uses the MC's nudity for a similar effect. There's something about Tonicmole's style, the lanky, high contrast, almost ropey way of drawing that makes Kiera's vulnerability and nudity even more shocking than in Rags. Part of it might be because I knew there was nudity in Rags, and seeing it in this book was a surprise, but I also think it's Kiera's reaction. She flees, she cries, she rages against her helplessness. She's awkward, she's not as pretty as the girl in Rags, she's more real in a way, even though the style she's drawn in is very cartoony. Unfortunately, the power of this scene is reduced, again, by telling me stuff that is apparent in the art. This whole sequence should be just about silence. Instead, we have Kiera almost joking about her bad fashion sense and the fact that she was probably abducted by aliens. Imagine this scene where the only text was this: I have to get home. Home sweet home. This disjointed home sweet home is great writing. Each word is separate, like she's so discombobulated she can't even string a sentence together. Each word is a breath or a naked foot hitting the pavement. Home, sweet, home. It's raw, it's real, coupled with the tears, it's like something from a horror movie. This is what I think Tonic should be aiming for more of in the future. Speaking of the future, will I be back for issue 2? Yes. I do like the art style. I want to see Tonic grow as a creator. I'm curious to see where he's going with the story. It's hard to beat the price and it's good to support new indie talent. I need more books to review. I want to be seen supporting the indie crowdfunding scene and its network for the inevitable release of my own books. Tonic is working on the second book already. He's got pages pinned to his Twitter that you can see with a launch date to be announced soon. If he retains this pricing structure and release date, I can promise him I'll be in it for the long haul. I'd like to thank you all for your time, especially if you made it this far. There's more content than ever out there these days, and if you chose to spend some of your valuable time here with me for a while, then I'm very grateful. Please hit the thumbs up button, comment below to leave your opinion and help the algorithm. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you like this sort of content and want to see more. I'll have more comic book reviews, particularly crowd-funded comic reviews, as well as writing workshops and time-lapse art videos up soon.